Hi, I'm Karen Tripp, and today I'm in Washington, D.C. with Meaghan Mountford. She's a food blogger from The Decorated Cookie. She also has other writing gigs, and now she's a published author. She has a new book coming out, and we'll get to that in a second. Meaghan, tell me, why did you start blogging?
Started back in 2008. I had been home with my daughter a year after leaving my cookie decorating job that I had had for 10 years. And I started blogging because, really for selfish motivations, I knew in that current world I needed an internet presence to sell another book. I had published a book in 2007,
Right.
Back when the food blogging world had really not, or at least the cookie decorating world on the internet had not taken off yet. So I didn't need the internet presence for that one, but I knew to write another one I would. So
Right.
that's why I started The Decorated Cookie. But then, just a few weeks in, you start getting really sucked into that whole blogging world, and it becomes addictive. And then I started blogging for the blogging itself, as opposed to being motivated by publishing another book, although that ended up being the case.
Right.
Anyway.
Now, your background, you have a degree in English?
I have I have an MFA in literature and a Master's of Liberal Arts Master's of Liberal Arts, which is a degree in just whatever you want.
Yeah, that's my daughter.
Studies.
She's, exactly. But you started working as 10 years ago in a cookie business.
I did. It was supposed to be temporary. The owner was opening up the shop in 1998, Bundles of Cookies. It's located in Bethesda. She was opening up the shop in the same complex where I was running a Pink Road pottery store, and I was leaving that job, and she said, "You want to come work for me?" And I said, "I'll work for a few weeks just through the holidays."
Right,
and then
right.
10 years later, I was essentially running the store with the owner by the time I left. And I only left because I had my daughter and I stayed home with her. So I would have kept going. I would probably still be there if it wasn't for my daughter.
Now, we can't use cookies, but what would be your favorite dessert?
Without a doubt, icebox cake, which is, if anyone's familiar with this, is more of a relic from my childhood. It's when you take the Nabisco chocolate wafers and you stack heavy whipping cream in between, and then you put it in the fridge, and it becomes this marvelous, wonderful, amazing cake that my mom used to make when we were little, that I still make for every holiday, every birthday.
Oh, you're
I
known
love
for
it.
that.
I
That
love
people
it.
can rely on you to bring this.
Easter, that's what I bring for Easter because I love it so much.
But you do spend a fair amount of time online. And I don't think people realize, so you have your cookie blog, but you're also the editor for Craft Gossip in the Edible Crafts department.
Right. So for that job, it is my job to know what's going on in the food blog world, specifically the food craft world. So more edible crafts as opposed to food in general. But so I can spend hours just looking through the internet at different links to find.
Essentially, I would say you have the pulse on
I hope so, because that's my job too. So I hope that I'm successful in that. But
and what trends are you seeing?
That's a very good question. I feel like cupcakes will be here for a long time.
Yeah.
While the trend is plateauing, I'd say.
Yeah.
I definitely think that because they're such a perfect food, portion controlled, decoratable, sweet, and perfect, that they will last for a while. But Jell-O is really coming back right now.
Yeah.
I just did a whole article with. I talked to someone at the Wall Street Journal recently about, and she just wrote a whole article about Jell-O becoming a medium for art. And it's because my focus is food that can be turned into art. I think Jell-O would fall into that. Push pop containers.
Yes.
Is another.
And how did you land the Edible Crafts gig?
That was probably one of the easiest jobs I've ever gotten. I just spotted an ad not long after I started my blog. While surfing the internet, I came across the Craft Gossip blog, and I saw a notice that they needed an edible crafts editor. I said, "Oh, that sounds about right." Now I'm home with my daughter, and I need something to do at home, and so I just emailed the owner of the blog, who is actually Australian-based. Craft Gossip is Australian-based, and I detailed my vision of what edible crafts means, and she liked it. She said, "Okay, here, give it a try," and that was in the fall of 2008. So it's been almost 3 years since I've had that gig.
Oh, that's great.
And it's been fantastic. It has been a tide turner for me, and it's been a really great, surprising gig to get because it keeps me in touch with this whole food blog world.
Yeah.
It keeps me in this community of food bloggers, and I
Right.
just know these people, and I
Well,
get
you already
inspiration
love
from
it.
their sites, and I love it anyway,
Yeah.
and it's what I do, so it really feeds into my own blog, well, very well, and it's really how I got the book deal in part because my agent had the idea from my edible crafts blog to do a book on edible crafts.
Talk about the book, but you actually already have been published, and let's talk about that book first and how that
Yes.
came about.
I earned an MFA in literature, as I mentioned, and originally I had wanted to publish children's books. And so I did a lot of submissions, a lot of writing, and sending things out, and the publishing world is very, very difficult to break into.
Yes.
And so I just had my folder of rejection letters. And I got some publications in some, magazines, children's magazines, and I actually have some nonfiction published elsewhere in medical journals, and that's another long story, but...
Okay.
I
We don't have time for that, but I'm sure that's
I do have some other pieces published in different places, but nothing big. I was not getting my break. And I was also working at the cookie store at the time, and I thought, why not shift gears and write about something I know how to do really well, cookie decorating. And at the time, there really were not a lot of resources on cookie decorating.
Right.
This was around 2005, 2006
Right,
when I was writing it. So I wrote up the proposal, I got an agent, and she sold it, and I published that book, which was great. I mean, it was such an amazing experience to write that book, and that came out in January of 2007. And then when it first came out, I worked hard at pushing it, marketing. I got a big spread in the Washington Post, and it was doing beautifully. It was #1 cookie selling book ever. To now, after my daughter was born, I got into this groove with the blogging, and I got this gig at Edible Crafts where I really do have a concept of all these food crafts out there, and I was starting to write proposals again, and my agent suggested, and I was doing cookies, and she said, why don't you do a book on edible crafts in general? Bring in not just cookies, but bring in your marshmallows and your cupcakes and your petit fours and cakes, and make it a little bit bigger, and start and including all these techniques, not just piping with icing, but how do you roll out fondant and things like that people just don't know if you're just doing this for fun. If you're not doing this for a living, you just don't know. So no, that's a really good idea. So I started working on the proposal and got that up. That took me months just to do that. I gave that to her in summer of 2010. And then she sold it that fall to Harlequin, which of romance novels, but there's nothing racy in it at all. They're starting to have a new-ish. They have a 3-year-old nonfiction section now.
Oh.
So, and I was like, no, Harlequin. Never thought about it, but
does it matter? It would be great.
They're so established, and they're such a huge operation. She said this could really work. She said, I really think we need to look at Harlequin. And so I said, great. So it's a how-to. It has 50 different projects, and it talks about, it has a huge section on techniques such as everything from cookie decorating. There's all the recipes you need for everything. Cookie decorating, piping, decorating cakes and cupcakes, fondant, marshmallow decorating, using edible pens, edible icing sheets. There's how to use different decorating tips. So it should be a how-to for almost any sweet edible craft that you can create.
Nice.
So I'm very excited. It has a lot of information packed in about Sugarlicious.
Sugarlicious, great.
Sugarlicious, 50 cute, clever treats for every occasion. And you can, and if you go on my blog right now, I have a whole post all about the book, a little sneak peek at the cover and some inside. And I also do a lot about a long bit to anyone out there like me, who is a food blogger who doesn't have millions of readers, who wants to publish a book.
Thanks so much for talking with us today. I've enjoyed this, and we'll put all your information up on the site, and people can go visit, and they should go buy your book when it comes out.
Any of my books.
Okay.
But thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. It's been a great interview.
Thanks for watching.